Hey everybody, I'm Dr. John Degenhardt. We started this Chiropractically Speaking show maybe 35 years ago. It was my sincere desire to get people to understand what chiropractic is, to get it out of the closet so people could know what it's all about. But today's show is extra exciting. For years, I was working long hours. I used to have many associates here, but the last few years I've been by myself. And I kept thinking, I can't keep pushing these long hours as I'm getting older. Lo and behold, let's talk about Dr. Russell Hoch. We'll tell about the story today, but I went to college with him, I bumped into him, and now he's actually going to help me here at the office a little bit from this point forward. So, Dr. Russ, give everybody a little introduction. They're going to be wondering, who is this guy? So tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Dr. Russell Hoch, I practiced in Bloomsburg for 40 plus years and retired, but found out that it wasn't what I thought it would be, so I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. I did my, graduated from Nanticoke High School, did my undergraduate work at Bloomsburg, at that time Bloomsburg State College, did my graduate work at Sherman College in South Carolina. Had a good education in chiropractic from that school, but coming out there were some pieces that were missing, so I also added on several certifications. I'm certified in therapeutics, chiropractic rehabilitation, flexion, distraction, decompression, extremity adjusting, and manipulation under anesthesia.
Okay, and that's a lot to talk about. So let's take a little break, but we're going to go a little bit back in history as about how we both went to the same school. So take a break, come back in a minute. So everybody, this is Dr. John. I graduated from Sherman College about 45 years ago in 1980. I come to Hazleton, my hometown, and became the busiest chiropractor, and I'm still maintain a big, busy practice. Dr. Russ went to school with me, graduates, becomes the busiest chiropractor in the Bloomsburg area. But we really don't talk to each other much over those 40 years, you know. But part of our education is we have to go and get courses to get relicenses. So I go to Sherman College. I haven't been there in probably 5, 6, 7 years, but my son is going to school down there now. So I wanted to go visit with him. So I go down to get these courses. I sit in one of the courses, and who's next to me? One of my old classmates. So we start talking a little bit, and you know, so you're going to talk about this. You practiced for 40 years. You retired, and you said it briefly. It didn't turn out the way you wanted to. What was retirement like for you?
Well, the first few months were good. It was kind of a settling in process. But after about the first year, I realized that I should have just slowed down or taken a sabbatical and come back. After 40 years, it does take a toll on you, especially, with all of the new regulations and things that you have to fulfill for government and insurance companies. But there's just more fire in me than I care to waste. So really was looking for something part-time. Met John in South Carolina. We kind of talked, and one of his problems was leaving his patients when he would go on vacation and be unattended. So I made the offer that I could fill in for him when he went on vacation. And that's what we've been doing for this past summer, and that's worked out quite well.
So I have vacation 4 times in the last couple times than I used to, where last year, Russ, I barely took away at all. So 2 things. The Hazleton people are excited, Russ. They love you. When I'm gone, they'll say, boy, he's very similar to your technique. I said, yeah, same schooling, same Sherman College, maybe different a little bit, but that's, no one's exactly the same. But again, today's show, I hope, is more for the Nescopec, Berwick, Bloomsburg people. I think you patients who used to love Dr. Russell Hoch, but then when he retired and closed his business, you probably went around looking for somebody else, and hopefully you found good chiropractors. But this show is to be aired out in that neck of the woods, because now that you know, at least he's going to be here, again, right for now at least, just when I vacation. So I want you guys to start calling this office. The number should be on the screen, in the beginning of the show, and ask, when is Dr. Russell Hoch going to be in the office. It's a joy for me when I've been telling my patients, I'm on vacation next week. A couple Bloomsburg people, Dr. Russell Hoch, you're kidding. How'd you get him to come on board? So he thinks very humbly, nobody's going to want to travel from Bloomsburg to see him. I disagree with him. I think he is good enough that if you looked around and cannot find sort of the right fit, and he was the right fit for 40 years in Bloomsburg, it is worth your trip now to travel from Bloomsburg, even if you just come maybe once a month when I go on vacations, because my wife now wants me to take vacations more often since there's not just coverage, but such beautiful, think about it, Russ, 40 years experience, all those special certifications. So what I'm excited about, it's a win for me that I could rest my achy joints, and yet know it's also a win for you because you have a good talent that you just didn't want to put away. Yep. And it's a win for the patients because they're excited that it's a guy that has great experience and we're pretty similar in our technique. So it's exciting, I think, for all those three people. So how has it been working out for you the last vacation? Which was last week I was in Vero Beach, Florida. How was it being here?
It was good. It was interesting. A lot of new cases, a lot of new faces, and I'm just pleased to be able to help out a little more and add a different dimension to John's practice.
Well, I'm excited that he's here, folks. Like I said, I don't want to. I know Russ, I mean this in love. I knew it. I knew if I retired, because I go on vacation in 3-4 days, I'm ready to come back. Yeah. So I know that if I retired, like you said, I would probably travel, rest up. Your brain does get tired of staff and paperwork and insurances, but eventually, I think I would miss it. Yeah, so it's nice that you got back into practice again. Good.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
No, I'm so life is funny, folks. I don't go to my chiropractic college for 5 or 7 years. I go because my son's down there. I go, and it happens to be. Have you been going to Sherman College courses or classes regularly?
I haven't been there for probably 9 or 10 years.
Okay.
So this was the first time back. I wanted to see the school, see the advancements that they've made, and got to do that. And then we wound up same row, same aisle.
I know. Yeah. When he said to me, John, I was like, Russ, I didn't even recognize you at first. You're still a handsome guy. but after 40, 45 years, people, we change. So again, folks, you just never know. I thought about getting some local chiropractors to come here, but I'll be blunt. I think our technique, Russ, it's a technique that I just feel gets best results. So I waited. I was going to work if I had to for years until my son came out of school. So only God knows the future. Dr. Russ will come here on my vacations, which is probably every couple of months. Maybe my son Tyler will graduate from Sherman College and come here and join us. If I had a dream, I said, Tyler, at that point, I'll be 70 in 2 years. So I like to work maybe a 3-day week, let Tyler work 3 days a week, let Russ cover our vacations. And I don't know just how long. You're probably going to just take 1 year at a time and see how it goes, huh?
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So again, there's no written contract. It's just a verbal, like, hey, we love what we do. So let's take a break. But Dr. Russell Hoch is back. I want the Bloomsburg people to take a trip and come see him. So take a break. So I'm excited, folks, to get an associate who has 40 years of experience, even though it's a 45-minute drive, I guess, from Bloomsburg to Hazleton. All the Nescopec, Berwick, Bloomsburg people, I think this show is going to start people buzzing. They're going to say their old chiropractor who's been in practice for 40 years is now at least a little bit once in a while here. But so call our office, 570-454-2474. See when Dr. Russ is going to, because any future vacations, we let him know in advance so that he can, because he's retired, but he has to sort of schedule your little trips even around that if you can. But I want to share a little bit. A friend of mine in Bloomsburg, he retired as a chiropractor, and his son became sickly, but he was not able to come back and take over the practice. Russ was planned for the future. So explain, Russ had to keep his license active by taking those courses that we took, plus his malpractice insurance. So what if he said to himself, I'm bored with retirement, but now I got to go back and take the state boards all over again. So why did you keep that open? Like explain how you did that.
Well, instead of taking the state board over again, I would just as soon keep what I had. So it just made sense to me to stay up with licensure credits and malpractice insurance and all the things you need. Even though I was on a retirement basis, it just made sense. It's kind of a backdoor, if you would. And I'm glad that I did because retirement just wasn't for me. I'm not a sit on the porch kind of guy. I had plenty of things to do, but I really missed the drive and excitement about treating patients and helping with their health care. So that being said, I'm certainly glad I kept that and been able to come back and practice again.
You know, we just did a show last week, Russ, on a girl who for 19 years was limping terribly, and she just felt that her back got so bad from limping so bad. When you said what you just said, the joy, I don't think people realize, Russ, when you and I get someone healthier and they can return to work and they can pay their bills or they can take care of their kids, we derive a satisfaction that our talents are being appreciated, and I think it gives us more value for our own time being spent. So that's what you're, I think, are excited to use again.
Exactly. The next time you go to the mall or go to Walmart or someplace and you see people struggling to get around, it's not just one thing. If they've had it for years, it's developed into 4 or 5 different things, usually compensations that they've made to alleviate pain where they initially started with a problem. So it's sometimes very difficult to unwind all of that. But once you do, you see their posture improve, you see their movements improve, you see their attitude improve. The pain has lessened or is gone, and they develop into something that you didn't expect.
And that's the joy that he was missing. And that's the joy, Russ, that motivates me, honestly. Here we are on a Saturday, working on a Saturday, doing a show, and I'm happy to be here. I want Russ now to talk about something that I know nothing about. Years ago in Bloomsburg, I think it was for Danville Hospital, they started putting patients under anesthesia. And they hired Russ to make chiropractic adjustments to the spine while the patient was under anesthesia. Though that is no longer being done, how did you ever get into that situation?
Well, that was always something that I wanted to do. That kind of manipulation has been around for a while, but they didn't have chiropractors doing it. It was usually osteopaths or orthopedic surgeons. And so I decided to become certified in that and went to New Jersey and then to Georgia to get certification. Came back and worked at the Susquehanna Valley Medical Specialty Center, used their satellite operating room facilities, and took people up there that I thought were on the cusp of getting better than they could be, or I didn't know whether conservative care was going to be helpful or not. So we would take them into the operating room and do 1 or 2 manipulations in a row, and that would determine for me whether or not they were conservative care patients. If they weren't, then they were referred to orthopedic surgeon or whoever was appropriate at that time. And if they were a conservative care patient, which is what we practice, they would respond and get past that boundary that was keeping them from establishing better health, better mobility, better ambulation, better posture. And many times we've pulled people out that were on their way to surgery with disc problems and stenosis, and they've not had them. Ran across a patient in church that I did one on initially. I think it was the second time I was in the OR, and he's not had back problems since then, and that's been 15, 16 years ago. It's not a cure-all, but it does help the doctor establish what boundaries are appropriate to take.
So if it was effective, why did they terminate it?
Well, actually, the insurance companies stopped paying for it.
Okay.
And that was that was probably the biggest reason. I can still do them. I'm welcome to come up and do it, but it would be a cash process at that point.
I see.
But when you start getting into operating rooms and assistants and anesthesiologists, the cost does go up. To do an MUA today, it would probably be $3,500 to $4,000.
Okay.
Not everybody has those kinds of funds to do that. But once I get back in practice and things, I'm going to start looking for patients to do those with. They'll be limited, I'm sure, but it's an opportunity they have to investigate other pathways.
So let's learn together if we can. If someone falls on icy steps, right on the rear end, let's say, their lumbar spine gets so compressed, we call it a spondylolisthesis, where on the MRI, one of the vertebrae can either go forward or backwards. So I use my arthrostim machine, but in your case, you would actually, under anesthesia, open up the patient and move it back. So we have to take a break, but I want to go a little bit further with this because I have multiple patients where they don't want to get surgeries, and I've sent them to pain management and everything else. So let's take a break, but we're going to come back and talk about this further. Thank you. So the theme of today's show is I want all the Bloomsburg, Danville, Berwick people to say, wow, we love Russ. People who used to see him, who come now to see him. When I used to tell people I'm getting a new guy on board, Russell Hook, Russ, I used to see him 20 years ago. So I mean it, there's enthusiasm when I bring up your name. Thank God. Mm-hmm. They could have said, don't let him come here. But what we're talking about, so that's the main part of the show. But pretend you're a chiropractor. Listen to his words. We do conservative care. We want to move your spine, take pressure off a disc or a nerve to maybe prevent surgeries, maybe prevent shots. But there are some patients that are so far gone. Stenosis, arthritis, disc herniations, severe. So Russ might get back into that, which I didn't know about that to know. But so someone falls on ice 20 years ago. Arthritis forms, stenosis. The vertebrae, if it moves forward, we call it a spondylolisthesis. So my understanding, Russ, is you would put them under anesthesia, and you as a chiropractor would adjust to get it back in alignment. So are those the patients you're looking for, the chronically damaged patients that are not responding to other care?
Well, those would be some, but the process that I use with that is I take them under conservative care, and I use traditional methods in order to try to reestablish alignment and take pressure off of nerves and discs. It's those that fall short of our anticipated goals for them. So when a patient does have that happen, we reestablish or reevaluate the patient. We may even re-X-ray and do an MRI or CAT scan. And use those tools to help us make a decision whether or not they'd be a candidate for that. Not everyone is a candidate. So at that point, if we determine that they are, then I will usually have them evaluated either by Dr. Williams in Bloomsburg, who's an orthopedic surgeon, and together we'll make a decision as to whether or not they become a candidate. And if they are, we set up the time frame to do that. If we do two manipulations under anesthesia, it's usually done in the same week. We'll do one, say, on a Tuesday and one on a Thursday. And then I like to see them Friday before we go into the weekend. Give them my cell number in case something were to come up that's questionable, and we go from there. The next 2 weeks will tell the tale. If they begin to improve and continue to improve over those next 2 weeks, usually all is good, and we can get them to maximum medical improvement. If they don't, at that point, then we have to make other arrangements because that's just the appropriate thing to do. Whatever it takes to get a patient back to health, back to mobility, back to life, that's what we're shooting for. So.
That sounds exciting. So for people watching the show, we only probably have 2 minutes left. What kind of a candidate would you eventually, is it someone that has like a chronic back conditions with MRIs with multiple herniated discs, or?
No, it can be an acute condition. As a matter of fact, the gentleman I referenced earlier worked at the carpet mill in Bloomsburg and had a side job putting siding on. Well, he slipped off of a scaffolding and fell only about 3 feet, but had a herniated disc. He was one that we did an MUA on. And after about 3 months, we had to do a revision, another one, and he has been pain-free since. If the condition is bad enough, if there's enough degeneration, you've got osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, degeneration of the joints, even stenosis, that may not be a candidate for our care. And that's oftentimes why I'll seek an evaluation by an outside source to say, where do you think we are with this? And if the risk benefit is weighing in the patient's side, then we'll do it.
Russ, if our relationship continues, educate me, because I have such a beautiful, large, long practice of 45 years. Usually I will do my traction decompression table, which you're trained in, and then some laser. If it doesn't always work, they try epidural shots. Doesn't always work, they go to us for a surgical consultation. I would rather say to those 10, 20 people, here, Russ, look at their histories. Maybe you and Dr. Williams could look. So educate me as time goes on. That's an avenue that I never did in the Hazleton area. So maybe some people with even acute conditions that don't have a lot of other damage, it sounds like, you could get in there and make improvements then.
The other thing I forgot to say is that this is not an island in the stream. I work with other people who give injections, spinal injections, nerve injections, with orthopedics, with physical therapy, part of that whole process in regaining their health.
Well, in conclusion, folks, it's a joy. I thank God. So much of my life, Russ, I tell my patients, and that's why I love coming here. I'm not here just to adjust people's spines, Russ. I try to, probably like you too, everybody has a battle that they're going through. So I try to listen to their battle, give them some encouraging words, because I think God wants us as Christian men to be kind to them. And hopefully they leave this office not just with a good adjustment, but they feel the Lord's kindness through so they can leave and say, you know what? I'm encouraged to go back and fight my battle, that my life has worth because God cares about me. So it's a joy to get another Christian man next to my side, and we're going to work as hard as we can. But give us a call. Dr. Russ is now available right now, at least just on my vacations, but who knows? Maybe things will come more often as time goes on. Have a great day.